And honestly, with Kick-Ass Switch, I was just trying to be clever. And I'll tell you a very funny thing. I was inspired by, I can't even remember what company it was. Back in the day, there was a company that did Crazy Sexy Cool. It was a magazine, I think. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do that, but just with K's. And then I realized, oh my gosh, that's KKK. I was like, you cannot start a whole shit like that. What are you doing? And really, truly, so that was in the soup of me trying to figure out, how am I going to talk about magic? I wanted to talk about real magic.
Yes.
And I was spelling magic with a K to differentiate it from the magic of stage magicians, like the illusions. However, I will say, I think there's a very fine line there. I don't know if you can draw a line between the two, because there's something that happens physiologically, psychologically when you're watching a really great illusionist that I think is magic. So it's been an interesting ride talking about it online. I used to do a lot of interviews for my podcast, and I would ask people, what they thought magic was. Magic is just mysterious. It's amazing. You cannot pin it down.
Yeah, I've kind of gone back and forth, like how much is psychology and how much is actually interacting with something greater than, something outside ourselves. So what do you think? What's that balance for you, or how does it fall, if at
It
all?
really depends on the day you ask me. There's some times that I would say, well, it's entirely just psychological, but then there's this mysterious thing. I often just called it a God thing, like in my own life, but I know so many people in the magical community, for good reason, they hate the word God. They were raised in fundamentalist religion, and so that word it feels like an imposition, and it's very triggering for them. But I personally, in my own just private life, had made peace with it. And so there's this God thing. I don't think of God as like a man in the sky. I think it is the ineffable. Y- It's indescribable. It's the great mystery. And
Mhm.
I'm interacting with that in some strange way that I can't explain. And that's very exciting when that happens. If you talk to me and ask me, what is magic on a day where I'm experiencing that, there's a lot of synchronicities, things I can't explain going on. I'll be like, oh, magic is a thing. But if I'm trying to manifest, let's say intentionally, it's difficult. When you literally are like, oh, I'm going to manifest something out of the blue, that's when I start being like, well, it's more psychological. And that's when I start talking about the reticular activating system. Is that something everybody is familiar with, or just
No, I'm not familiar with you. Which, you say it again?
reticular activating system? So
Okay.
your brain has this filter, and it basically everything everywhere all at once is our reality. It's kind of like the 7 of Cups in tarot. You're looking at these different choices, and what you focus on is your choice, kind of. So
Mhm.
everything is happening all at the same time. It depends on what you're focused on. The reticular activating system is a filter in your brain that filters out everything that it thinks is not relevant to you, to your goals, to your safety, whatever is important to you. So that's why if you want to get pregnant, everywhere you go, there are pregnant ladies, because your RAS is showing you what is it thinks is important to you. It's why if you're in like a busy crowd and it's so noisy and chaotic, and then all of a sudden you hear Kirsten, somehow it like cuts through all the noise and chaos, and you hear it because your RIS is like, that's important. So I think that's a really key part of how manifestation works, and that you can program that
So
intentionally.
can you walk me through how you program manifestations? I don't know if
Yeah.
that's possible.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really just like about focus. It's about focus. So I've learned I don't do a lot of manifestation anymore because of that old adage, like, be careful what you wish for, because you just
Mhm.
might get it. I've done that so much. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm just gonna like follow my soul and follow the opportunities as they present, because I don't know, there is something you can call in things that you're not prepared for or that maybe aren't aligned with your soul. And that's real, but then there's consequences involved. So I don't do a lot of it, but if I were just to sit down and say, I want to manifest this thing, I would only do that with something I find difficult to manifest. Otherwise, I would just do it. So it's something that feels kind of beyond me. I'll just start by focusing and looking for examples of people that have already done that, starting my day before I even get out of bed. We have the hypergogic and the hyperpumpic states of being in between wakefulness and sleep. I think those are highly sensitive, vulnerable states of mind in which you can drop in like little pieces of conditioning and programming, as people say in neuroscience. And so it's a great time to do some visualizing and to focus. And then, of course, you want to take aligned action. And if it is something that is so outside the realm of what seems currently possible, which is what I would be doing a manifestation practice for, I just move very, very small and I just stay open to like, what is the next right step? What is happening? Like, how can I work with what is? What are the opportunities here? And then just becomes like a daily practice.
Oh, that sounds like such a beautiful approach to magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, yeah, there's something about divine timing too, and trusting to divine timing, and
Yeah.
that the divine actually has the big picture and knows more than you and knows when the right time is, and to, trust to that, but also to be ready and open for that and to take, like you said, the right action. So,
Yeah,
and
and
I'm sorry.
I've done all the cliche things. I've done all the woo things. I've
Oh,
kinda
yeah.
yeah, and I think there's something to beginner's luck as well. Because what really got me super excited about magic was I was chanting, and I really didn't even know what the hell I was doing. I had read about Nichiren Buddhism and this chant, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and I decided I was gonna manifest a writing gig. I wanted to get paid to be a songwriter because I knew I was a great songwriter. I was already writing songs. I've been writing songs since birth. They just like come out of me like very naturally. And so I was like, I want to get paid to do it. And right away, I had got a job making $100 an hour as a ghostwriter for a band out of Santa Barbara. They put me up in a beach house on the beach. And I was like, whoa, that's so wild. All I did was do this chant.
But
And I think there's something about the naivete of that. When you get like really up in your head, you actually block whatever that magic is. And so it's very
yes.
tricky. Like, how do you do it intentionally, but also maintain the naive magic?
Yeah, that is a challenge because I've always felt in order for you to be able to do magic or be in the zone or whatever you want to call it, you have to have faith. But if you go too far into that, you end up, I've seen people kind of go off the rails and be a little silly about things. And it's like, no, you also have to have rationality in there, and it's finding that balance for me has been a challenge because I tend more towards wanting to rationalize things. I'm not saying I'm being rational. I frequently do things irrationally when I think I'm being rational, but I'm in my head, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
um, so Major Arcana. Love, love the book, love the book. We both have them.
So exciting.
Alright, first I have to ask, this looks like your artwork. Is this your artwork? Did you do the
Yes.
cover?
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
Thank
This is so you. I mean, I don't know you personally, but from what I've read, this just seems like you.
you.
So
Yeah.
so why did you decide to jump into fiction? And you've done a lot of nonfiction writing about magic, but what
Mhm.
inspired you to write this?
That came before Kick-Ass Witch or Hippie Witch. I got the
Really?
idea. The idea came to me in a couple pieces, and I can talk about the history of that. But I got originally the idea in Big Sur, California in 2008. And I was like, I want to write a book that takes place in Big Sur because I love Big Sur. That is like a magical tarot deck. So every chapter is a tarot card. That was like the first kind of inspiration. And I knew nothing about tarot. I had been reading and studying angel paths, which is the Thoth deck. A woman broke down every card. It's online still to this day. It's actually a really good website, but I was just studying this website. I didn't know the difference between the Thoth deck and the Rider-Waite-Smith. I knew nothing. It was just very naive, you know? And then a couple years later, how deep into this story should I go?
Keep going.
Okay, so a couple years later, I knew I was in a doomed marriage. I knew when I got married that it was doomed, and there are circumstances around that. But that was in 2008 when I got the idea. When I realized, oh my gosh, this is over. I have to find something's wrong. I didn't know what was wrong yet, but I knew something was wrong. My husband at the time, he was traveling a lot, and I had seen the trailer for Twilight, Catherine Hardwicke's Twilight, the movie. And I really wanted to watch it. And he was going out of town and it was just being released like online. And so I bought it. And the second like he left and I heard the back door close, I went running, like flying across the house to my laptop. And I watched Twilight like this. I was just enchanted. I loved the forest. I loved the filters that they used. I just fell in love with Catherine Hardwicke's vision, specifically the woman who directed the first movie. And I was like, in love. I was madly in love with Edward, the sparkly vampire. And at that point, I was in my mid-30s. And I was like, this is so humiliating. This is so embarrassing. You can't have a crush on a teenager. Like, this is terrible. And so then I was like, okay, I want to do something like that, but for middle-aged ladies. And so that's when the ideas just started kind of coming together. And then I started online because I thought at that point, the messaging was you need to have an audience. If you're going to sell a book, you need to have an audience. So I was like, well, I guess I'll build an audience. And then come to find out, all of a sudden, I was making a living talking on the internet. And so that's what I did. And the book just kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed back. And so.
Wow. I had no idea. That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
That you're, yeah.
It's just been a long time.
I'm glad you finally got the book out. So are there going to be, so this is the major arcana. I'm assuming you're doing 4 more books for each suit?
Yeah.
All right,
so
good.
Book of air, book of water, book of fire, book of
okay, and I expect you to follow through, Joanna. No dropping things midway. We need to know how this story ends.
Oh, no, that's not happening. No, this is my big dream. I am a single mom with a developmentally disabled adult son. And my whole life has been about this guy because he was born right after the day after I turned 20. So literally my entire adult life has been taking care of someone else. All of my choices have been about that, you know, whether it's making money or just literally taking care of him, driving him all around, making all the food, doing the laundry. And I'm like, you know, I just want one thing for myself. I want this one dream. Hippie witch, kick-ass witch, all of that has been incredible. But that wasn't my dream. How could you dream of being a podcaster? Like, that wasn't a thing until it was, you know? It just, now you can. But back in the day, it wasn't a thing. I just started talking and I realized I could make a living that way. But I just wanted to make this one dream happen. So I will for sure knock on wood that I live long enough to see it through to the end.
No, this is a wonderful book. So I do have a couple dog ears. I have a couple questions, if that's okay. I don't want to give away the story, and I won't give away the story. No. What do they call them? I'm sorry. I had to go off my hormone replacement therapy for getting to be an old lady, and my brain has stopped working.
Oh no!
Oh my words, it's horrible. I have to get back on it soon. Anyways, that might have been too TMI, everybody.
No, it's appropriate, right? This is a book for middle-aged women. Although she's not very old. She's only 38 years old. But but when I first got the idea, that's around the age I was and looking for.
Well, I like that she's not a kid. I especially it's nice that she has stuff under her belt, but she's still seeking and she's still asking questions. Okay. So there is a moment in the book where she's talking about her grandmother and how her grandmother had a certain magic. And she says, we saw it work lots of times, and it often worked in mom's favor. If she'd, grandma, ever needed traffic to move faster or a parking spot to open up closer to the mall on a rainy day, there grandma would be, sitting calmly in the back seat, her thumbs and forefingers pressed together, quietly muttering under her breath, and there it is now, so mote it be, right there, right now, so blessed be, thank you. So that sounds like a real, we call it a spell, manifestation,
Yeah.
connection to the divine. Tell me
Yeah.
about that, if
Well,
you
I'm a big
can.
fan of, I call it witching on the go. And like parking spots is a prime example of witching on the go, like using a mudra. And I really think there's something about getting out of your own way
Mhm.
mentally. I'm a bit of a head case. I think we all are these days. And so I think a lot of magic is about getting out of your head and down into your body. And I love a mudra. This is my favorite because just applying that pressure brings your attention down out of your head into your body, and it's very portable. You can do it behind your back, you can do it in your pocket, you can do it when you're waiting in line at the bank, and something opens. Again, it's mysterious. I don't know what that something is, but something opens when I do it, and I find it to be very magical. So, Tea Party Grandma is the character. I had a real Tea Party Grandma, and that character in the book is also a Tea Party Grandma. She had to do the mudra.
I had a good friend of mine's a hypnotherapist, and she actually did some hypnotherapy with me, and she does that. It's her, I don't know what she like her anchor, she called it, where it's this
Mhm.
mudra,
Yeah.
and she kind of programs you while you're in a light trance state to be in your happy place. Imagine your special place where you're calm and relaxed and in complete control. And then the idea is whenever you want to get back into that sort of hypnotic state, you just do the mudra and you can drop right into it. So I definitely think there's something psychological or biological or whatever you want to say to the mudra, especially when it's accompanied by kind of programming your mind to react to it. But
Yeah.
thank you. All right. So my other question is, reading from the book again, it was baffling. Magic seemed to jump out when least expected. The handsy guy, the desert creep, bonds, telekinetic beads. But when I sought it out directly, it remained elusive, as if the very act of seeking pushed it further out of reach. I think there's a very deep truth to that
Yeah,
when it
yeah,
comes
that's so funny that you
to.
pulled that out.
So tell me about that.
Well, it's kinda what I was saying. It's like it's trying to nail Jello to the wall. It's just, like, frustratingly out of reach. There's something like I was saying about getting out of your own way. I love the High Priestess card in the Major Arcana, not in my book, but in the actual, in a tarot deck, because she's sitting there very, like, calm. I think she's somewhat embodied, even though the Empress to me is who represents embodiment. Interesting that they're both sitting down, but she's sitting in front of this curtain that's often covered in pomegranates, which represents the underworld. And I think it's like what's behind the curtain. I don't think she can access it in a mentally active state, like where she's like trying to make it happen. She has to sit down.
Oh.
And that is like opening, the veil lifts and all of a sudden you can see kind of thing. And that's why I think that magical time between wakefulness and sleep is just so cool because you'll get insights, you'll see things, you'll hear things. I've had some very bizarre clairaudient experiences. One in particular, speaking of this ex-husband, he told on himself to me just like he was talking in my ear, but he was sound asleep, but I was in this in between state, and then come to find out it was all true, and it had been,
Mm.
like, in my ear, and how do you explain that? I wasn't trying to make it happen, I wasn't in my way. Something else was coming through. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I found, I got really interested in magic when I had, a mystic experience when I was in my late teens that
Ooh,
I
tell
couldn't.
us about it.
I had a vision of the Christ figure, and it just dropped me to my knees. It was like this. Again, this is ineffable. There are no words to really describe the feeling that descended on me, but it was like all the barriers, all my skin was just gone, and I was just one with the universe. And there were all these other people around who were kind of committing the seven deadly sins, and they couldn't see the Christ figure there because they were too busy committing their sins. And what I got from that afterwards was that the divine is always there and always around us. And our sins are what prevent us from connecting with the divine, but the divine is always there. It's always wanting to connect. So it's not, the divine isn't cutting us off. We're cutting ourselves off because we can't see it because we're, in our heads or in our doing our, in our ego or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So it was this incredible experience. And then I was like, how do I get, all I wanted to do was to get back to that, which I've only recently, like within the last year, has discovered is a common pitfall of like trying to get back to that experience because I didn't create that experience. So it just happened. Something else created it. And so I couldn't force my way back. But in my quest to understand it better, I started looking more at magic and, mystical. Anyways, bleh. I don't know. There's no way to make a long story short with that one. I got
It's
into
so
tarot.
cool. Don't bother. I was so excited to get to talk to you because we've been orbiting each other for such a long time, like on social
Yeah.
media. I think you're
I
such an
want
interesting person.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm a big admirer of yours as well, so I'm kind of fangirling a bit.
Look at
But,
this. Look at this. Look at this. Does everyone know that I won a cootie catcher
well,
from the
yeah,
author Kirsten Weiss? So excited.
yeah, my great cootie catcher giveaway. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah, but the point is, like, the harder you try, I think it kind of pushes you away from it. You have to just be
Yeah.
present and open. I mean, the times for me when there was this period of about 6 months when I was just in the zone. I was just happy and just in, positive mood and everything was great. And I started winning all these random prizes for things I didn't even realize had entered into, and it's just like all these good things were coming to me. And I just really feel like it's just because I was in this flow state and for whatever weird reason for a long period of time. And I would really like to get back to that now. 'Cause anyways,
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's a strange, mysterious river that we're in. Or when we get in the river, wonderful things happen. And when we get out of the current, we're out of the current and it's not connected. But
Yeah. I
anyways,
think there are all different ways to do it too. I think
yeah,
like
for sure.
every religion seems to have its own like mystical tradition that most people don't practice, but at the root of it, you'll often find some kind of mysticism there. The Christians I grew up in fundamentalist Christian, what would I call it? We were Mennonite brethren,
Oh,
and
okay.
everyone in my family still is, and they have more faith than anybody I know. Like, they are filled with faith and things happen for them, right? And they would say that's the Lord at work in their life. And I don't know how you can argue with it because it does happen. But then I know witches who are like, no, it's magic, And I just think, are we all talking about the same thing, but we're like
Oh,
putting a different face and name to it? Like, it's very interesting to me.
well, mysticism and magic are very close. It's
Yeah.
just the intention, I think, is a little different because the mystics and magicians, they both go inward. They're dealing with symbols and the subconscious, although they have different language for it. And then they're, connecting with something and they're trying to see the world differently. But the mystic is trying to see the world differently so they can connect with the divine, where the magician is trying to see the world differently so they can change the world around them. But the path is just so close.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, I think faith is in there too, because the faith of the fundamentalists I know, yes, it's buried in dogma. Yes, they're spending so much time reading the same book over and over again, which I think keeps you in your head. But faith is a release. It's an acknowledgement. This is beyond me. It's like trusting in something. And it seems that that act does something similar to what magic does in terms of like getting out of your own way. Like they're like, this, I can't control this. I'm just going to turn it over to the Lord. And then it ends up, like, what just happened? I've just seen it so many times. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. It's interesting. And I hear what you're saying. Like mysticism is different than magic, but there's that fine line.
Yeah. And yeah, anyway, I can go on and on about this. Sorry. I want to talk more about you. Sorry. Let's switch gears and talk about evil. So you have some very nasty, monstrous
Yes.
creatures in this book. Yeah, I'm not going to give it away. But what intrigued me about them is kind of the idea that I believe when you let evil in, it can just take you over and wear you like a skin suit. And that's kind of what's happening with the villains in this book. It
Yeah.
seems, or am I misreading that? And also,
No.
I'm just, if I can interrupt myself, a friend of mine once, I was at a book club meeting about my book that a friend invited me to, and she asked me if the secret passages in Shadow of the Witch were representative of the subconscious, and I had to admit that I just thought secret passages were cool. That's
Yeah.
why I put them in. So
Yeah.
if I'm reading too much into it, I apologize, but I had
No,
to
I
ask.
love it. There are so many layers to this. I've worked on it for so long. There are many, 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 many layers. And that is one. A tricky part of writing this book is it has its own protagonist, but it's also introducing the main protagonist of the whole series. And so I really struggled with that. Like how it was difficult to do that because it's a 5-book series, and I'm a big nerd. I'm a structure nerd. I love story structure. I studied it for a long time, and so this book has its own structure, and then the series has its own structure. And so it's kind of like the climax of this is the inciting incident of the whole series. And so it was very tricky to not give too much away about this antagonistic force for the whole series. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I know who your antagonistic force is. Now that you bring that up, and no, I think you did a great job of it. Honestly, I think it because this book feels complete. You have this challenge which is completed, but it feels like there's definitely more, which I'm excited about. So I want to ask you about. So tell me about the story structure. So are you? This is going to be a dumb question. So there are 14 cards in the suits in each suit. So are you just going to have 14 chapters, like you did a chapter per
Yeah.
card, or are you going
I'm
to
gonna
space
do
it out?
chapter long chapters, which
Okay,
I
okay.
also was a little worried about, but, what it is. I broke them up with spaces because
Team
when I'm
breaks.
reading, sometimes I'm really tired and I'm like, I just need to get to the next space. So I'll flip ahead to see when that is. And then I can carry on to
Yeah.
get to the space. So I just created a lot of spaces within each chapter. And I also would say I chose to favor storytelling over tarot because you can't write a novel. It's a linear card by card, chapter by chapter, major arcana to the world.
Yeah.
Like that was fun when I started, but also a lot of that goes against the story structure that I'm into. So I had to let it go. And then there are layers of it. If you love tarot, if you know tarot, you would be able to see a chapter and be like, oh, okay, I can see how that was kind of towerish, or that
Mhm.
was kind of like the Empress. I tried to put those moments in there for tarot
Mhm.
lovers, but it was more important to me that the story be good, that you care about the characters, and I didn't want people up in their heads about all of that.
Yeah. Are we okay on time? Can we keep going? Or do you have to
Yeah,
be somewhere?
I'm not gonna
All
no,
right.
yeah, totally.
All right, good. I have more questions. All right. So there's been a huge revival in interest in witchcraft and the occult, especially in the United States and especially among younger women. What do you think is driving that?
I don't know. I guess I didn't notice the latest one because there's been so many. I think the first time I really noticed it maybe was in the 90s, like with the craft coming out and all of that.
Mhm.
And then there's just been many waves of it. But I was just riding the waves, like with Kick Ass Witch and then Hippie Witch. And um, I think it has a lot to do with Christianity being very common in the West and people needing something. They need some sort of spirituality that they can believe in, that they can invest in. I think that's a piece of it. You know, like they reject the religion, even if they weren't raised in it. It's like permeated throughout our culture. And so there's kind of been a rejection of that. I think people associate it with patriarchy. And then there's also an empowerment component. We want to believe that we have some sort of control over our lives or some sort of influence. I think we're sold in the West on the idea that you can create the theme for Kick Ass Switch for a long time was creating the kick ass life of your dreams, because that was a big thing for me. I was very driven by that. It's easier said than done. When you really go deep into that, you start grappling with ideas like fate and destiny. So I think the call is something to do with rejecting religion and patriarchy, but also wanting to have some sort of semblance of control over your own life. But the journey is very different than the call. The call is what gets you there, but then once you start like going deep into it, it's like, oh, shadow work. Oh, like maybe I don't have as much control as I thought I did, and it just gets really, really complex.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a hunger for ritual. I think we've lost a lot of ritual in modern life. And I think the church is, I mean, when I grew up in a old school Lutheran church, which
Okay.
is very close to Catholic.
Yeah.
And so it had the rituals, it had the chanting. And lately I've been trying to find a church that kind of does that, and they just don't. I mean, the deep reading of the scriptures are interesting. They're very intellectual. It's very informational and educational, but they're very dry. And I miss the chanting of my childhood. I confess, even though I'm not, I feel the hunger for ritual too, I guess is what I'm trying to
That's a
say.
good point. Yeah, and nature, I think there's a call to ourselves, a call back to ourselves somehow, and I feel like we don't maybe entirely even know what that is. Uh,
Yeah.
I often refer to it as the craft of spirituality because it's so tactile and it's so sensual, and it involves ritual, it involves chanting, it involves getting out in nature, it involves literal crafting, like making things. And again, to me, it's something about getting out of your own way and getting into maybe your animal body, but also soul. There's something to do with soul in being very, very embodied. There's something timeless about it, and it's fulfilling, it's romantic. There's so many different layers.
Yeah, I mean, just being present when you're outside or present when you're cooking something. It's not the magic talisman, it's the presence and the intention when you were making it and just focused on it, and in that moment that I think creates the magic, however you
Yeah.
wanna look at that.
Yeah.
But have you ever run into the darker side of magic, people who've gone off the rails, or
Uh, first of all, I avoid that. So it kinda
it's a
looks
good
like a red flag
policy?
to me, so I don't really, but people would be attracted to me and enter into my space, and I usually just experienced it as they seem very lost or, like, super into something I'm not into at all, and I'm a people person. I love people, so I'm always kind, but I tend to just, like, find my way out of those entanglements. I think for me, the evil that I've encountered in my life, it's happened out and about, just out on the
Yeah.
streets, and also, I think I don't want to throw anybody under the bus here, but in my romantic relationships, I gravitated toward, I wouldn't say evil, I would say shadow. I think I was attracted to my own shadow, like a really grotesque, exaggerated expression of something I needed to claim in myself.
Mm,
And it really took me for a ride. And it was very painful. And there was a lot of suffering involved. I don't know if I would label it as evil. Like, evil is a hard thing to talk about too. The
yeah.
best I can say is it's a loss of soul. It's somebody who literally is either devoid of soul or just so cut off from soul that they're acting purely from their animal or from their mind. Ego
No, I
mind.
think I think that's a pretty good definition of it. So, what counterculture or uncomfortable belief do you hold as a result of this magical path that you've been on?
Counterculture? I don't know. I feel like maybe my whole paradigm is counterculture.
How so?
Um, I think one thing that makes me annoying to other people perhaps is my rejection of politics. That seems to be the current religion/football game, but the stakes are very high
Yeah.
and people are very heated about it. And I guess I have a countercultural thing going on there because from my perspective, I know there are others like me, but the way it feels, I feel like a child of divorce. Like I'm sitting in the middle of these people that are like intensely hating each other. And I see, I don't know how deep I want to get into this, but I just see a lot of manipulation happening, a lot of a manipulation of people's emotions. And it seems evil to me. It
Yeah,
seems
there's a lot of ideology, which is just
I feel people are a victim of it. I feel that,
yeah.
like, these big corporations and the news is no longer the news. It's just a lot of, like, we have to win at all costs, and we're gonna make people so terrified and so angry that they'll just win at all costs, and so people are terrified, and they're angry, I just think it's so dangerous, but I don't know what to do about it, so I just sorta
No, I
it's
think you're
not
doing
that, and I'm not saying anybody's wrong about anything they care about. There's a lot of beautiful intention on an individual level, like people caring about their fellow human beings, but it just seems like it's ripping us apart. So,
no, I'm right there with you. I feel like the media or whatever like we're being rewritten. A computer program of ideology is being rewritten over our natural souls, and we're being just programmed to just be angry with each other all the time, to think
all
the
the time.
worst of everybody all the time, and to spend too much darn time online, which is
Yeah.
ironic since we're doing a podcast, but still, we spend too much darn time online.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
Not
answer. If you go out into, like, the wild where actual flesh and blood humans are, you don't know anything about their politics. They're lovely. Most people are cool. They'll give you their shirt
yeah.
off their back if you need it, if your car is broken down or you need a couple pennies at the grocery store. Like, most people are very cool. And, I don't think it matches the way that they're depicted online.
Yeah, I had we hosted a block party on our court for the 4th of July, and my neighbors were I kinda got tricked into managing it, but
Uh-oh.
the neighbors were so excited about it. They had so much fun, like, "Let's do it again, let's do it again." And it wasn't, like, honestly that exciting. It was just, barbecue, people hanging out. It was fun. It was great to talk to each other, but I think we are just so hungry for human connection now and for actually, like, participating in life instead of just watching it happen on TV or reading about it on social media, that it was ended up being this really beautiful event, even though it was very simple.
Yeah,
But yeah.
maybe we crave that, I think connection to nature, connection to other humans. You said it's not very exciting. It's like, well, maybe we've had enough excitement, you know?
Yeah. So, how has living with magic changed the way you walk through life? Or maybe it hasn't because you've been doing it for so long.
I know I've been doing it a really long time. I guess I'm drawing a blank. I don't know how to answer that. Is that weird?
Okay. No, it isn't. And as soon as the words were out of my mouth, I was like, she told me she's been doing this all her life. So that question makes no sense. All
No,
right. So
it's
we'll end.
not a bad question. It's just that I don't know. I don't know where to go with it. Maybe it's so broad I don't know how to narrow it down.
That's okay. That's okay. So if people want to dig more into the world of Joanna DeVoe, who puts the kick ass in magic and used to be a hippie witch, what do they do? Where do they go? How do they start?
You know what's funny? I'm more a hippie witch than ever since I stopped calling my podcast Hippie Witch. I think
I will
it's so
always
funny.
think of you as hippie witch.
It's a reclamation of self. So the current iteration of the podcast is just called The Jo DeVoe Show. I'm in the middle of doing a tarot series, and I know a lot of people watching right now probably love tarot. So it's called not the, but a journey through the major arcana. There are many different journeys you can take through the major arcana. And right now, I just last night got my first box of author copies. This has been such
No
a fun
way.
trying to get these paperbacks properly formatted. So I will be selling books. You'll hear me talk a lot about my books. Um, but I lead a Patreon community. I do something over there called The Journey. And every turn of the wheel, we do a mastermind. It's really just a chat. It's such a small core group of people that I love those people. And we just talk about life and the change of the seasons. I'm a big walker of the wheel. I love the wheel of the year. Uh, yeah, you can find me on Instagram, kind of on Substack. I really use Substack to host my newsletter because I got sick of giving MailChimp all my money, and to host my podcast because Blog Talk Radio went out of business and my little podcast was homeless. So luckily I was able to move it all over to Substack, but I'm not really there writing in-depth essays like other people are, but I appreciate it for that. And
Yeah.
it's so fun.
Yeah. I know. I'm probably not using Substack as much as I could be, should be, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I like the long format with Substack. I like that you have the option to do little notes, little social media type posts, but I think the world needs more long form. I think it's
Oh my
just
God.
good for our brains to be able to read something long and follow along with it and calm our minds and
Yeah.
let the gears turn a little bit. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. I would actually prefer if they didn't have the posts, the short form, only because I want a space for long form. And that's what it was. And now it's just starting to look like Twitter or Threads or Blue Sky. I will say the quality is different there. There are so many writers, like the brain power is off the charts. It's very clever. But I guess just my personal preference, I would rather see all of that brain power poured into a novel or a long
Yeah.
form essay. I don't need all of this. Like, it's funny, it's entertaining, but I would just rather I prefer depth. And it would just be nice to have one place that prioritizes that because I just think our attention span is shrinking and I'm old school. I don't want to see it. I want to stay as human as possible.
Me too. Well, I appreciate you, Joanna DeVoe. Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
for talking to me today. This has been so much fun. It's been so entertaining for myself. I hope everybody enjoys the video. It's going to be posted on YouTube. It's going to continue up on Substack for people who want to watch it. And I will be. When's your next book coming out? Do you have a date for it?
I do, but I hope to release it early. But I'm doing a book a year. I'm
Okay.
not a what's it called? Rapid release person. I just don't operate well that way. So spring 2027, and if I can pull it off maybe earlier, I would love to surprise people. That would be really fun.
Well, I look forward to the next one. What's the next one called?
Book of Air.
The Book of Air. Okay.
Book of Air, Lies of Omission. I love a
That's
subtitle. I'm such a subtitle person.
Subtitles rock. All right. Thank you, Joanna. I appreciate it. It was great chatting with you.
Yeah, it was so fun to get to meet you. face to face, finally.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.